Los Angeles, 1947, a city of dreams. But beneath the glitz and glamour, a darkness lurked. A darkness that would soon consume a young woman named Elizabeth Short. The post-war boom was in full swing. Jazz clubs pulsed with life. The streets thrummed with a restless energy, but in the shadows a different story unfolded. And it was in this world, on a cold January morning, that Elizabeth Short's story would end in the most brutal and shocking way imaginable. January 15th, 1947, a Tuesday. Betty Bersinger, a local resident, was walking with her young daughter. They were headed to a shoe repair shop on South Norton Avenue. The morning was bright, the air crisp. In a vacant lot, something caught her eye, a flash of white against the grass. As she drew closer, her heart turned to ice. It was the body of a woman severed at the waist. The victim was quickly identified as 22-year-old Elizabeth Short. An aspiring actress, Elizabeth had come to Hollywood with stars in her eyes, hoping to make it big. Nicknamed the Black Dahlia for her dark attire and enigmatic persona, Elizabeth was a familiar face in the nightclubs and cafes frequented by Hollywood hopefuls. But fate, it seemed, had other plans for Elizabeth Short. Her murder sent shockwaves through Los Angeles and beyond. The brutality of the crime left everyone wondering who could have committed such a heinous act and why. Betty Bersinger, a young mother on a routine errand, strolled along the quiet sidewalk of South Norton Avenue. Her 3-year-old daughter, Anne, skipped ahead, her tiny hand clutching a red ball. As they approached the 3900 block, a sense of unease settled over Betty. Something in the vacant lot across the street seemed out of place. A pale figure lay sprawled on the grass, eerily still. The figure appeared to be a discarded mannequin, its limbs askew, its torso strangely bent.
A chill ran down Betty's spine. Against her better judgment, Betty cautiously approached the figure, her gaze fixed on the disturbingly still form. As I drew closer, my breath caught in my throat. This was no mannequin. The pale figure was the naked body of a woman, brutally severed at the waist. The woman's skin, washed clean of blood, was startlingly white against the green grass. Her jet-black hair, long and lustrous, spilled across the ground like a morbid halo. Her face was turned towards the sky, frozen in a grotesque, almost pained smile. Panic surged through me. I stumbled back, my hand flying to my mouth to stifle a scream. My daughter, oblivious to the horror unfolding before us, tugged at my skirt, her innocent eyes questioning my sudden fear. Gathering my wits, I scooped Anne into my arms and ran towards a nearby house.
Pounding on the door, she frantically explained the gruesome scene she had stumbled upon. The resident, a man named Fred Lawson, initially dismissed her claims as hysteria. Within minutes, sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder as police cars descended upon the quiet neighborhood. The news of the gruesome discovery spread like wildfire, drawing a crowd of onlookers and reporters, eager for a glimpse of the macabre scene. Police officers, their faces grim, quickly cordoned off the area, shielding the horrifying sight from the growing throng. The vacant lot, once a nondescript patch of grass, was now transformed into a crime scene. As detectives began their investigation, a collective shudder ran down the spines of those present. The victim's body, so meticulously posed, spoke volumes about the killer's perverse artistry.
Elizabeth Short, born in 1924 in the small town of Hyde Park, Massachusetts. My early life was far removed from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. I was a dreamer, a romantic at heart. From a young age, I was drawn to the silver screen. I devoured movie magazines, enthralled by the allure of Hollywood. I longed to escape the monotony of my surroundings, to trade the mundane for the extraordinary.
Her beauty was striking, with her porcelain skin, jet black hair, and piercing blue eyes.
In my late teens, I set my sights on California, the land of opportunity, where dreams were said to come true. I moved to Los Angeles, eager to make my mark in the entertainment industry. Hollywood, with its promise of fame and fortune, beckoned to me like a moth to a flame. I immersed myself in the city's vibrant nightlife, frequenting the same clubs and cafes as aspiring actors, directors, and producers. I worked odd jobs to make ends meet, always holding on to my dream of becoming a star.
Elizabeth's striking beauty and enigmatic personality made her a memorable presence. The origins of the nickname Black Dahlia are shrouded in mystery, much like Elizabeth Short's life and death. Some say it was inspired by her preference for dark clothing and her jet black hair. Others claim it was a reference to a popular film noir thriller at the time, The Blue Dahlia. Whatever the source, the name Black Dahlia took on a life of its own, becoming synonymous with Elizabeth Short's tragic fate. It transformed her from a young woman with hopes and dreams into an icon of tragedy. The media latched onto the nickname, using it to sensationalize the case and fuel the public's morbid curiosity.
But behind the headlines and the sensationalized stories, I was a real person, a young woman with hopes, dreams, and aspirations. I was a daughter, a sister, a friend.
Her life, tragically cut short, was more than just a gruesome murder mystery. She was a complex individual, driven by a desire for something more than the hand she had been dealt. Her journey to Hollywood, filled with both promise and hardship, reflected the experiences of countless others who flocked to the city of dreams in search of fame and fortune.
My story is a reminder that behind every unsolved case, behind every sensationalized headline, there is a human being whose life has been tragically cut short.
News of the Black Dahlia's murder spread like wildfire through Los Angeles. The sheer brutality of the crime, the meticulous dismemberment sent shockwaves through the city. This wasn't just a killing, it was a spectacle, a macabre performance designed to shock and horrify. Fear wormed its way into the hearts of Angelenos. Women were afraid to walk alone at night. The killer was still out there, a phantom haunting the city's dreams. The Black Dahlia case was tailor-made for the newspapers. It had all the elements of a sensational story, a beautiful young victim, a gruesome murder, and a mystery that seemed ripped from the pages of a pulp novel. The press, sensing a story that would sell papers, descended upon Los Angeles like vultures. Every detail, no matter how insignificant, was splashed across the front pages. Elizabeth Short's past was dissected, her life turned into a morality play. The nickname Black Dahlia, coined by reporters, became synonymous with the case, further mythologizing the victim and sensationalizing her death. The crime scene itself was a chilling puzzle. The vacant lot where Elizabeth Short's body was found had been carefully chosen. It was a public space, yet strangely secluded, allowing the killer to arrange the body for maximum impact. The meticulousness of the display, the careful positioning of the body spoke to a chilling level of premeditation. The lack of blood at the scene was particularly perplexing. It suggested that Elizabeth Short had been killed elsewhere, her body drained of blood and meticulously cleaned before being transported to the vacant lot. As the investigation dragged on, the LAPD found themselves drowning in a sea of dead ends. The sheer volume of tips and leads, many of them generated by the media frenzy, overwhelmed detectives. Every day brought a new suspect, a new theory, a new promise of a break in the case. One by one, these leads turned to dust. Witnesses contradicted each other. Suspects provided alibis or were cleared by forensic evidence. The Black Dahlia case attracted a swarm of attention, drawing in a cast of characters as diverse as the city itself. The LAPD's investigation, fueled by public pressure and a relentless media, pursued hundreds of leads. Each tip, each whisper, each shadowed figure offered a potential glimpse into the mind of a killer. The sheer number of suspects was staggering. Disgruntled ex-lovers, jealous acquaintances, opportunistic drifters. All were scrutinized under the harsh glare of the investigation. But amid the noise and chaos, certain names rose to the surface, their stories intertwined with Elizabeth Short's in ways that were both intriguing and unsettling. Dr. George Hodel, a surgeon with secrets.
A prominent physician with a taste for the finer things in life, I seemed an unlikely suspect. I moved among Hollywood's elite, my intelligence and charm masking a darker side.
But beneath the veneer of respectability, Hodel harbored a chilling secret, one that would surface years later to haunt his family and rewrite the narrative of the Black Dahlia case. Hodel's own son, Steve, became convinced of his father's guilt.
Years after the murder, Steve, a former homicide detective himself, began uncovering disturbing evidence that pointed to me as the prime suspect.
Photographs found among Hodel's belongings bore a striking resemblance to Elizabeth Short. Handwriting analysis suggested that Hodel could have been the author of cryptic notes sent to the police after the murder. And perhaps most chillingly, witnesses placed Hodel at the same locations frequented by Elizabeth Short in the days leading up to her disappearance. Mark Hansen, the nightclub owner in the shadows.
I was a fixture in Hollywood's nightlife. I knew everyone and everyone knew me.
His club was where Elizabeth Short spent many evenings hoping to be discovered. Hansen was questioned by the police.
I admitted knowing Elizabeth Short, but denied any involvement in her murder.
Rumors persisted in Hollywood's back alleys. Leslie Dillon, the bellhop, and his troubling tales.
A former mortician's assistant and bellhop, I was a troubled soul prone to morbid fantasies.
He became a person of interest in the Black Dahlia case after writing a letter to the police. Dillon's letter, filled with gruesome details, was initially dismissed as the ravings of a disturbed individual, but certain aspects of his story were eerily accurate, piquing the investigators' interest.
I claim to have met Elizabeth Short at a hotel where I worked. I alleged that her murder was a ritualistic killing gone wrong.
Dillon's tales added complexity to an already baffling case, leaving investigators and the public to wonder about the truth. Section 5. A shadowy web of possibilities. The Black Dahlia case was a tapestry woven from darkness, its threads leading down countless paths. The LAPD found themselves lost in a labyrinth of dead ends. Was it Dr. George Hodel, the surgeon with a monstrous secret? Or Mark Hansen, the nightclub owner with powerful connections? And what of Leslie Dillon, the bellhop haunted by his own demons? Or could the killer be someone else entirely, a shadowy figure lurking on the fringes? Section 1. Whispers in the Darkness. The Black Dahlia case, with its gruesome details, became fertile ground for speculation. Theories bloomed in the shadows, whispered in hushed tones in dimly lit bars. Everyone had a theory about who was responsible for Elizabeth Short's demise. Some whispered of a scorned lover, others pointed to organized crime. And then there were those who saw something darker, more sinister at play. Each theory held a grain of possibility. Section 2. The Surgeon and the Sacrifice, a ritualistic killing. The precision of Elizabeth Short's dismemberment, the careful draining of her blood, the almost surgical nature of the crime, led some to a chilling conclusion: this was no ordinary murder. This was the work of someone with anatomical knowledge, someone who saw the human body not as a sacred vessel but as a canvas for their own twisted artistry.
Hodel, with his medical background and his rumored interest in the occult, became a focal point for those who believed that Elizabeth Short's murder was more than just a crime of passion.
Some whispered that Hodel had been involved in secret societies, groups that dabbled in the dark arts, performing rituals that required human sacrifice. Others pointed to his fascination with surrealist art, with its themes of violence and dismemberment, as evidence of a disturbed mind capable of unspeakable acts. The Black Dahlia case unfolded against the backdrop of Hollywood's golden age, a time of unparalleled glamour and excess. But beneath the glittering facade, a darker truth festered. Hollywood was a town of secrets, where power and influence could make even the most heinous crimes disappear. The theory that Elizabeth Short's murder was part of a larger conspiracy, a cover-up orchestrated by the rich and powerful, took root in the fertile soil of suspicion and distrust. Some whispered that Elizabeth Short had been involved with a high-ranking studio executive, that she knew too much about the industry's dark underbelly and had to be silenced. Others pointed to the LAPD's handling of the case, the numerous dead ends, the lack of a conviction as evidence that someone was pulling the strings from behind the scenes, protecting the guilty and ensuring that the truth remained buried. The Black Dahlia. Even now, the name evokes a chill. Elizabeth Short, a young woman with dreams as big as the city. The passage of time did little to diminish the public's fascination. The mystery surrounding her murder only intensified.
Books, documentaries, and countless articles have attempted to unravel the enigma.
The Black Dahlia became a morbid fixture in American pop culture. Her image, forever frozen in time, the jet black hair, the haunting smile, the gruesome nature of the crime solidified her place in true crime history. Hollywood, the city where Elizabeth Short sought fame, couldn't resist the allure of her tragic story. The Black Dahlia case became a dark muse for filmmakers, inspiring a slew of movies, television shows, and documentaries. Each adaptation offered its own interpretation of the events, blurring the lines between fact and fiction, further mythologizing the victim and her story. From noir-infused thrillers to gritty crime dramas, the Black Dahlia's presence loomed large. Filmmakers were drawn to the case's inherent mystery, the opportunity to explore the dark side of Hollywood glamour and the psychological complexities of a killer who could commit such a heinous act. While some films aimed for a degree of accuracy, others used the case as a springboard for creative exploration, weaving fictional narratives around the real-life tragedy. Regardless of their approach, these cinematic representations ensured that the Black Dahlia's story remained firmly entrenched in the public consciousness. Decades have passed since that chilly January morning when Elizabeth Short's body was discovered, yet the Black Dahlia case continues to fascinate and frustrate in equal measure. Despite numerous suspects, countless theories, and even the occasional claim of a solved case, the identity of her killer remains elusive. The Black Dahlia case has become a haunting reminder of the limits of justice, of the crimes that elude even the most determined investigators. The lack of closure continues to gnaw at the edges of our collective consciousness, a testament to the enduring power of unsolved mysteries. The passage of time may have faded the physical evidence, but it has done little to diminish the desire for answers. The Black Dahlia case, with its haunting blend of glamour, tragedy, and mystery, continues to captivate our imaginations, A chilling reminder that some stories, like some wounds, never truly heal. The Black Dahlia case, a chilling relic of a bygone era, might seem hopelessly lost to time. But what if the answers lie not in the past, but in the future? The tools to crack this case are now cutting-edge technology. DNA analysis can unlock secrets hidden for decades. Renewed investigations offer a glimmer of hope. The Black Dahlia's story, a tragedy etched in Hollywood history, continues to resonate with chilling intensity. It speaks to the dark side of fame and the enduring power of mystery. Could modern science finally provide the answers that have eluded us? Or is the Black Dahlia case destined to remain an open wound?
The search for truth must continue. Elizabeth Short deserves justice.